I gotta walk in my dog. Yeah, I'm ready. Sign these before the meeting, sure. What are they? Depends on what kind of candy. Oh, sure. I'm always willing to try. Did you find the line item? I haven't looked at a bunch of them more closely. I just then I'm going to think about this for. Oh, what am I going to crazy? Of course, it could.
I said you would be in touch.
You working it tonight? Can't find.
Doesn't want to cooperate, huh? We need to get a name tag for you and slide it in there when you come in.
Isn't there a white for that? Well, yeah.
That's me. Get the others, you know.
Just make sure you have
But it's nice to have it. Don't let anybody.
Wait, before you run off to talk to them, Curtis, come here. You know who I think you should be? It would be nice to have somebody there to say this.
I know you two know.
I should have come. Pardon? Yes, you may. Hi, Jerry. Right. Now, where are you? Oh, jeez. I'm optimistic that it's going to be short, but it never is. Oh, item N. I can't promise that, but what could happen is somebody could make a motion. I can't do it. the chair, but somebody can make a motion to, it's in, to move it up to perhaps just before H. So.
I get you.
Sure.
Well, you love drawing. That's what you're here to do. I'm joking. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
So.
Just before H. I mean, it had been hanging up like that. Yeah. Hard to turn on.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen. I think I got a budget. I'm fine for stuff amazing. Good, we can start now. We got some credentials. Wow, I said these over here.
I got this.
Oh, noon.
Bada boom, bada bing. So there's a series of 4 races. Yeah. And then the state championships. The 4 races are just the same. State championships.
I would type them together. No, how long it's been? I mean, it is not been. Yeah, really, exactly. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this session of the Grand County Council regular meeting It's Wednesday, November 8th, 2017, 4 p.m. Calling this meeting to order. In attendance are all the council members, except at this point Patrick Trim. I expect he will be coming in. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's not often we get San Juan County here, so I would like to ask Kelly Pearson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next would be approval of minutes, and I expect that now that the elections are over, we will have a whole slew of them to approve next time. That brings us to ratification of the payment of bills.
Total ratification of bills for Grant County for November 8th, 2017. Total bills, $1,125,310.05. Total payroll, $202,974.11. Total bills and payroll, $1,328,284.16. All within budget and for ratification.
Rory has made the motion. Do we have a second? Evan spoke. You're seconding it, Evan?
Yes.
Seconded by Evan to ratify the payment of the bills. Total bills in the amount of $1,125,310.05. Total payroll in the amount of $202,974.11. For total bills and payroll of $1,328,284.16. Any discussion? Question? We will take a roll call vote. Greg?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Evan?
Aye.
Curtis?
Aye.
Jaylyn? Yes. Rory?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, elected official reports. Pardon, no. Well, it could be. I have you on a different part, though. Council administrator report.
Yeah, good to be back from a vacation, a nice vacation. I did learn that we got an economic development grant in the amount of $3,000. That would be for marketing and professional development related to economic development. Zachariah pursued that and got it. There were about 40 different applicants, by the way.
How much was that?
3,000 total. That's all I got.
Okay. Good. We'll make a note that Patrick has arrived. So we now have all 7 council members. That brings us to department reports, of which there are none. Agency reports, none. And that will bring us to citizens to be heard. This is the portion of the council meeting where citizens have the opportunity to address the council on topics that are not listed on the agenda. Are there any citizens to be heard? Not, we'll proceed to presentations. Mary has a special presentation that I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Where do we
Yeah, the YouTube.
Oh, that is a microphone actually right there. So.
It's my honor to acknowledge this year's Utah Association of Special Districts 2017 Distinguished Monitor Award. I was presented to Deborah A. Martin. The staff of the Solid Waste District asked the Solid Waste Board members to nominate Ms. Martin for this prestigious award, which they unanimously supported. Following the resolution awarding 2017 magazine. Whereas manager of the solid waste district for this month. Whereas at the time that she served as manager of the district, Deborah has used her skill and knowledge gained in waste management to retail and strategic district. Whereas Deborah's management style includes community serving ideas, striving to optimize operations under the management while considering customer accessibility and service, extending respect to district institutions and employees alike, and putting the safety and well-being of district employees at the top of the priority list. Whereas Deborah volunteered her time as a member of the Four Corners Recycling Association and is an active member of the faculty instructors of the National and Local Solid Waste Association of North Carolina. Deborah is usually skillful in motivating her employees to work together as a viable unit while at the same time recognizing each unique personality and individual skill set, and works well with county and municipal officers to provide efficient economic service to residents and businesses. Whereas in recognition of exemplary work on behalf of the solid waste services and leadership in the solid waste industry, Deborah Barton, all solid waste managers in the state of Utah, has been selected to receive the 2017 UASB Distinguished Manager Award. Therefore, with grateful appreciation for distinguished service as manager, Deborah Barton is recognized and honored. Deborah realizes that to create a professional solid waste district means encouraging and supporting her employees to work as a team, be professional, and continue their education. As an example of this effort, on November 3rd of this month, Adam Watkins completed a 40-hour compost operation training course. Thank you, Adam, for your willingness. I am very excited about this. We are so fortunate to have that. Very distinguished and hard-working manager. Grand County Enforcement. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, please do.
I can't do it.
Citizen to be heard.
But I did tell them a couple of things. One, I don't believe I really heard you when I was told to shut up. Because one of the points that special districts, and there are about 400 of them, so I'm supposed to be one out of 400, is that the board is supposed to be controlled. But rest assured, all of these district boards, these control and it's not me. Number two, the only way that this award can be awarded to me is because I have exemplary professional staff, Adam, that are willing to challenge themselves to do that. And that's why I'm in the management. The third thing I'm in, so I also know that my husband wrote books on my station. It's about my life. And we've been around. And also, but it is my work. That's why I do it. I reward my staff, the citizens that I serve, not only
Kind of hard to come after that. Thank you, Deborah. Next, that brings us to our general business and action items.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion.
please do.
I'd like to move item N to the next action item.
Okay. Do we have a second on that motion? Curtis seconds the motion. All in favor? Any discussion, first of all? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. We are moving action item N to right now. That would be approving proposed memorandum of understanding between Grand County and U.S. Bus Utah LLC for providing a hop-on, hop-off bus touring system in Moab pending legal review. We have Steve Swift. And Jerry, would you like to join Steve at the podium? And Jerry is, would you introduce Jerry to those who don't know him?
Is the manager of the business Utah Bus, US Bus Utah, and he has approached many people in the county to try and get free bus service or shuttle service going between Lions Park and the arena. The arena is just an available spot for this. So Jerry has talked to many people in the county, and I sort of am the tail end of this whole process. So I'm thankful to Jerry being here tonight for his interest in helping the community. You know, his benefits of the course, but he's proposing a great service to the community. So what it basically entails is, from my perspective, is a turnaround and a base to park his bus, two buses at our arena. We provide a little bit of ground for him, and just to facilitate the whole process. So it's the end of the run at the moment, but in the future it may be vastly different. It may increase. We hope it does, especially for the people that have difficulty getting to the arena for events, and also getting from the arena area or Spanish Valley area into town. So, welcome, Jerry. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to details about straight away?
I will call the council's attention to the legal review in the red folder on the dais. And then I would entertain a motion.
Is there any time frame with the memorandum, or is it just
Time frame, Jerry, is we'd like to commence in the first week of January. The reason is actually that I brought a few decisions to open the bus, but after careful consideration, it became counterproductive. So I was told it's quite cold in the Moab in January or into December, so I just decided to postpone the launch because I have a covered trolley in Salt Lake City, but unfortunately the trolley is committed on a jingle bus until January 1st. So after that, I plan to bring the vehicle like this, covered with heat, and start in first week in January service. I don't want to start now, get interrupted because of bad weather. Because underneath the roof is only 70 degrees. If I had more people, they could be upset that they cannot be able to sit outside. So I think it's more sensible to wait and then start with the service and carry on. Later on, let's say March, April, a little bit here in Moab, April. If the weather improves, we can again go back to the bus and
Curtis.
So in the draft MOU, it states under the services to be provided by Grand County, several transit and driver's personal vehicles. Several is a little general. Do we have an idea of exactly how many buses and how many personal vehicles that would be?
Well, it would be 2 buses and maximum 2 personal vehicles for the driver. So what's happened is that we'd like to park the bus at the county parking and start in the morning for people going to actually the idea. So the service is planned to start at 7 a.m. and run until 10 p.m.
So what would the number be for the transit drivers' personal vehicles? 2 spaces?
2 spaces, yeah. 2 spaces,
So
because they will park, they will jump in the bus, and they will drive.
So I would just recommend that we amend the MOU to reflect 2 drivers' personal vehicles. And aside from that, I'm comfortable with the MOU.
With vehicles, there's 2 types of vehicles we're talking about here. One is the personal vehicles belonging to the actual drivers. In the future, a year down the track, maybe some transit vehicles for that we're talking about now that would be maybe parked in Tierra del Sol, Red Village, other populated areas for
Oh, I see.
a designated driver to come and bring people to the bus stop, and then they take the bus from there. That would be provided by Jerry. But that's way down the track. And I wanted to put it in here now to save us having to redraft this in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The demand will actually determine the future service. We'll see how many people from which subdivision will come and
So what, am I understanding correctly that what you're saying is that in the future there may be more than just 2 vehicles parked?
There's transit vehicles and then drivers' personal vehicles. So within the line up to 2 buses, and this is several transit and drivers' personal vehicles. So I would recommend we amend the number to 2 drivers' personal vehicles, but the transit vehicles that's a moving target, and that may grow. So establishing a number with that is probably not something that we can do at this point.
Well, actually, for each bus, I need during the day when the bus is running, I need 1 parking space for the drivers. So each bus needs a one driver plus. I could give the drivers the buses home.
How many spaces do we need for the transit vehicles to provide a little room for growth?
4 or 5. Because in the future, the possibility is I'm working with the Southeast League of Local Governments. There's possibility to get older vans from GTA. So the idea is to have our bus running on Main Street and from different subdivisions, those vans would feed the main bus. And that's a vision for the future.
And is there a potential that citizens might commute to the arena and park for the day and ride in?
That would be great, but again, it's counted property, and then later on, it will be for later discussion.
Yeah. So I'd really like to support launching it. I also think that we have no clear vision of what it might look like, so I don't know if there's a way to include revisiting this in a year or something. I think with the reservation system that's potentially happening with Arches, that there might be other shuttle operators coming to town, and I wouldn't want to play favorites and say, oh, these guys can park for free, and then other people, But I think it's a great thing, and I would like to support it. And if there's a way to include whether within a year or 2 years or something, we have it scheduled so it doesn't just slip through the cracks.
Revisit.
If I may, I'm actually talking to Archie's already about shuttle through the park, which would be actually bound with this shuttle. So the idea is just leave your car in the hotel, don't drive, jump on this bus, go to Lion Park Hub, change buses, and go to the Arches.
But for you, it's a commercial enterprise.
That's correct.
Make money off it. And if somebody else wants to make money off it,
I understand that.
Curtis.
So I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
I move to approve the proposed memorandum of understanding between Grand County and U.S. Bus Utah LLC with the amendment under the section services to be provided by Grand County to read free use by U.S. Bus Utah of Ostark parking lot for up to 2 buses, 2 drivers' personal vehicles, and 5 transit vehicles That's the amendment. For the purposes of using a portion of the arena parking lot for a turnaround area, parking of 2 buses, several transit vehicles, and that's the amendments in the recommendation I'm reading. For U.S. Bus Utah, free of charge in exchange for promotion and transport services, and authorize the chair to sign also all associated documents, opening up the ability if they need to expand the numbers that we just revisit that memorandum of understanding as opposed to leaving it general. Did you get that, Ruth?
I think so. I got the free use by U.S. Bus Utah of OSTA RC parking lot for up to 2 buses, 2 drivers, personal vehicles, and 5 transit vehicles. And then the rest of the motion, associated documents, and to revisit the MOU. If you want to say after, I don't know what point.
As
2 years?
needed.
As needed? Okay.
Well, as needed to change the number of buses, but we want to relook at it definitely in 2 years.
If he doesn't need the additional capacity, then why set it 9? He needs additional capacity. He can come to the county and ask us to revisit it.
Well, I don't know. There's plenty of days when that parking lot's completely full, and I don't want it to go steep either. Or like suddenly there's all these buses that they're trying to set up carnival rides around.
I just think it's important to have a number on it so that we can be specific but be open to negotiation. And that's reflected in the legal.
Well, Curtis has made a motion. Is there a second?
Can I get a second?
Mary, are you seconding?
Yeah.
Okay.
More
May I
discussion.
ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Is this the MOU that is in legal review that you were recommending? Because there are some other changes in legal review, the one that's in your folder,
Yeah, I
that
didn't,
make it more robust for the county.
I didn't personally see the need to act on other comments, but that was the one that stuck out to me.
But it is the MOU you're referring to is the redlined one, not the one that was in the packet. The one that's in the red folder.
I'm looking at both, but I'm also looking at the MOU that's in the red folder.
I just want to be clear which one we're adopting. They're different. The one in the packet is different than the one in the red folder because the one in the red folder has legal review. In addition to the comments, there's actually red lines. So,
Yeah.
one with legal review. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, seconded by Mary. Ruth's going to read it to us right now. So we know what we're voting on.
Move to approve the proposed memorandum of understanding between Grant County and U.S. Bus Utah LLC for the purposes of using, let's see, wait a minute, as revised per legal review, including a revision under services to be provided by Grant County to state free use by U.S. Bus Utah of OSTA RC parking lot for up to 2 buses, 2 drivers, personal vehicles, and 5 transit vehicles. Okay. I have all that right so far. For the purposes of using a portion of the arena parking lot for a turnaround area for U.S. Bus Utah free of charge in exchange for promotion and transport services. And authorize the chair to sign all associated documents and to revisit the MOU as needed.
Okay. I just, I seconded for the discussion portion, but I want to make sure, because what you were saying, I don't think was we're just revisiting it to look at number of parking spaces and such. You wanted to revisit it in case other organizations or come into the community and want to do it.
Yeah. Or if it turns out that hopefully he's making money hand over fist, and maybe it's worth getting $10 a night or whatever.
So I'm wondering if we should make, not a substitute motion, but would it be amendment to say to review as needed and in 2 years?
Yes, go ahead.
Either party can terminate this agreement. We just have to do 30 days. So if we wanted to revisit the situation,
right away. So if the circumstances change, we should redetermine this.
So you so
Approving this today to get them going for this agreement, by which we can terminate it.
So, Andrew, do you
You
have
think
any
that
comments
covers
on
yours?
that? Is it advisable to have a
revisit.
a date on the document to revisit, or are you fine with the way it's written now? Hearing this discussion. All right, then we have a motion. We have a motion on the table, seconded by Mary. Any more discussion? I just have one comment, and that is throughout in the MOU, it services to be provided by U.S. Bus Utah, and it bullet points the types of riders to be on that. And my understanding was this would be for any residents, and so I'm uncomfortable with saying free daily transport of youth to their activities, of tourists at motels, and of OSTARC patrons who may have had some alcohol to drink and would rather not drive home. But to me, that excludes the normal person trying to get to and from work. Okay. Yeah.
One of the reasons for the service, one of the benefits, I believe, is to prevent DUI charges for
Yeah,
for
and I
people
agree.
to go home.
I agree 100%. But if there's somebody, for instance, that lives in that subdivision next to OSTARC that needs to get into town to work, I would hate to have them prohibited on a technicality because they're not listed in the stuff.
Oh, I see. No, it's open to everybody. Everybody can ride it. It's no.
Open to everyone, including, and then you can. Right. I would be happy with.
Yeah, because it's going to be free service, so I'm not. It's open.
I think you can just amend it and ask for agreement. Just ask for that. Ask the agreement to include but not limited to.
To make the amendment to include the word, but not limited to.
Go ahead, Curtis. You got it.
Well, can I just make a substitute motion to include the previous, just add include but not limited to?
So, okay, substitute motion to add included but not limited to in the previous stated motion.
Perfect. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you for your
second.
support.
Good drive home.
Mary, you did second
Hey, thank
that,
you.
right?
I thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for your support, and I believe this will be beneficial
I hope so.
for everybody.
Okay. Now we move back to item H, allowing San Juan County pending satisfactory legal review and professional survey to have the 100-foot wide easement through Grand County Red Rock Speedway. And we will call on Commissioner Bruce Adams. Yes, he is here. And anyone else who would like to come up from San Juan County.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourselves for the record.
I do have Kelly Pearson, our county administrator, and Jerry McNeely with me today. He's our Northern County liaison. This is Ben Musselman, who is our Public Works Director. And I want you to know that I'm honored to be here today. It's the first time I've appeared before the Grand County Council, and I feel it a privilege and an honor to be able to speak to you folks today. I've been a county commissioner in San Juan for the last 13 years, and I apologize for not coming down here and speaking with you prior to today. I should have done that. As a county commissioner, I've had the opportunity for the last almost 9 years to be a member of the Community Impact Board, representing southeastern Utah. I was sitting there thinking about the projects that had come from Grand County to that board for funding, and I'll just name the ones that I can remember. It was about 5 or 6 or 7 years ago that Manuel Torres called me. He's a member of the County Recreation Committee and wanted to know if there was some way that the Recreation Committee could get some money from the Community Impact Board to build some new ball fields out near the old Spanish Trail Arena. And I visited with him for a while and found out that the Recreation Board had put away some money, a lot of money. They put away nearly $1 million. And I said, Manuel, if you'll come with me, I think we can get you $1 million grant for that project. He did, and we did. We gave $1 million grant for that project, and I think from what I can see out there, it looks like a wonderful addition to your community. More recently, the sheriff and others came for money to the CIB board for remodel of the jail and an update of the jail, and I don't have those figures with me, but it was significant. It was well over $1 million. We were able to convince the Community Impact Board to give I believe it was a loan and a grant to the sheriff for that. Another project that came before us was a new terminal at the airport, and it was a significant amount of money. We were able to convince the CIB to give, I believe again, a loan grant to the airport project. And then just in the last meeting, the Community Impact Board had offered a $250,000 loan to Grand County to do a flood control basin on, I think it's Jackson Street. And I was not happy with what the board did when they authorized that, because they authorized a loan and you were already putting up $250,000. So I asked for reconsideration on that item. Councilman Hawks was there. Bill Jackson was there, and after I made my plea, we got a unanimous vote to change that from a loan to a grant. So I have tried to represent your interests as a member of the Community Impact Board. We're meeting tomorrow at Red Cliffs Lodge. We come down here every November, try to move those meetings around the state of Utah on occasion, but every November we come down to the Moab area to Red Cliffs and have our meeting there, which is, I know what a wonderful place southeastern Utah is. A lot of the board members are really excited to come down here and revisit the beautiful area along the Colorado River. So the reason I'm here today is because we have some residents out in the area. I guess to help you understand it better, it's the racetrack area that you own property on. We have residents that live in that area. We do have an easement through the old gravel pit that belonged to LeGrand Johnson. It's not the most convenient for LeGrand or for those residents to travel through there. We looked carefully at this and thought if we could get an easement across your property, then that would provide maybe a second access to their property. We're not trying to encumber anything, but only improve the access to that. We'll build a new road in there, and I think it's spelled out pretty specifically that we'll do the survey, we'll do all of the construction, we'll be responsible for maintaining the road. We'll be responsible for anything that needs to be improved there. We just need that easement from the council and whatever legal review that Andrew wants to provide. We're willing to abide by whatever needs to happen there. We're just trying to make some improvements for those citizens that live out there. And I don't know, anything you want to say, Ben?
I just thought it would be a great safety improvement for all of those residents that travel through that route.
I'd asked Jerry McNeely to speak, but he takes too long. He takes way too much time. But,
I move to allow San Juan County, pending satisfactory legal review and professional survey, to have the 100-foot wide easement through Grand County's Red Rock Speedway motocross property located in San Juan County, with Grand County retaining the option to connect to the easement as needed, so as to benefit both counties for future development of this land owned by Grand County, and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Curtis is making a motion. I think Mary was trying to make a motion. Someone will let her second it. Any more discussion or questions? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks for coming up. Appreciate it.
And I'm more than happy to visit with you folks on any future projects that you have that might involve the CIB or San Juan County in any way, shape, or form.
We'll send you lists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item I, which is approving partial or full refund of penalty for overpaid taxes 2016 on privately owned parcel by Grand County resident Laura Ward. Is that you? Welcome, Laura.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
I will let you tell us about your case.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you for your service. I am delighted to be a relatively new resident of Moab. We moved here in 2015 and purchased our home as our primary residence. In 2015, we were classified as primary residence. In 2016, we were reclassified as secondary residence. It took me quite a while to get this worked out for 2017. But in 2016, I received a form, which is an application for a residential exemption. I incorrectly assumed that because I had been classified as a primary resident in 2015, that there wasn't a hurry to return that form. That was my mistake. When I did return the form on October 5th, 2016, I was told that it was too late to have a credit applied for that year, despite the fact that I am a primary resident, that we do pay and have paid our income taxes in Utah since 2015 when we moved here, that we do not have a home in any other area. And I get it that people are moving here, that are purchasing homes part-time, and that there does need to be a system in place to check for this. My issue really is that on this form that was mailed to me, there is no date specified for return on the form. And in the tax code, which is attached, there is also no date specified that any form may need to be returned by. I paid the 2016 taxes that were assessed to me in full, and was not aware that there was an extra cost in place that was too late, and that I would have to pay them for 2016, but they were credited for 2017. Somehow that fell through the cracks, and in 2017, my bill also reflected that I was a secondary
compensation, and that all got straightened out. So the reason that I'm here today is to respectfully request the refund of what I perceive to be an overpayment and tax for 2019. I also might recommend and suggest that the application for residential exemption be updated to include a date for return. Curtis?
I move to approve the proposed agreement to refund overpaid 2016 property taxes due to misclassification as secondary residence as presented and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Curtis has made the motion. Mary seconds the motion. Any more questions? Discussion? I just have a question. So, do you have to fill this form out every year, or now that it's straightened
Well, I had
out,
that
is it
question
going to be?
too, but I don't believe so.
Okay.
But I did wonder if that were to be the case. And if I had to, I would willingly and happily.
Okay.
Prior to people.
So then,
So how would we wouldn't want it so much in the motion, but how can we make sure that we get it on the form, that we get a date on the form, or do we need to put that in the motion?
Probably second issue, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That would be departments.
So
if
just,
you're gonna, I'm sorry.
so just let the department know that this has been an issue and that we haven't. Just communicate.
Were you going to say something?
I would add that if you're going to be looking at the form again, if you really want to line it up with the tax code, which I've now looked at, I believe the form would also need to ask for all of the owners to sign, because the code itself indicates that all of the owners need to sign. But the form doesn't.
Okay. We have a motion made by Curtis, seconded by Mary, and I believe we're ready to vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations.
I appreciate your time and your service. Very grateful.
That brings us to item J, which is adopting proposed ordinance approving the rezone of 4.9 acres of real property from rural residential to highway commercial located at 3118 East Desert Road. Zachariah.
Okay, so we have held the public hearing for this agenda item, and now it's an action item for you. I don't have to go over all of the details, I don't think. I believe some of you have had the opportunity to visit the site. We went through a number of considerations at the last meeting. Included in your packet are 5 citizen comments and also a letter of support from adjacent property owners. Of interest or consideration, I suppose, is that the letter of support has signatories from property owners along Spanish Valley Drive, and all of the citizen comments are from owners that exist on or that reside on Desert Road. The comments that are in effect opposing the rezone are from property owners that reside on Desert Road, whereas the letter of support that's got a number of signatures on it, 9 individual properties being represented, are from properties on Spanish Valley Drive. So they're sort of grouped based on where the property owners are. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. So just to bring us back to some of the basics, we're talking about a rezone of 4.9 acres from rural residential to highway commercial. This is in effect to expand the KOA campground by absorbing a current residential property. The applicants have indicated a desire to maintain the existing manufactured home and use it for employee housing, and then also add a number of new campsites. The Planning Commission voted for an unfavorable recommendation, noting the lack of conformance with the general plan's future land use plan map, but also indicating potential conflicts between an expanded commercial use and the residential properties adjacent to it. As I said last time, I think that there are very reasonable arguments on both sides, in favor or in opposition, and so I will just note that and I was talking to Bill about this just now, that one of the concerns, and I don't want to presume that this is the only concern. I think you've seen some of the other concerns in the comment letters, but one concern is traffic through that residential area. And I will just note that if the rezone is granted and the KOA executes their purchase agreement that's contingent on that rezone, that the KOA would still have to go through the process of updating its conditional use permit because it would effectively represent a change, an expansion. And through that process, the county could impose a condition that would effectively prohibit use of Desert Road for the commercial campground. Now, enforcement of that, could be a challenge, I suppose. But I just want to make that known that, that would be a very reasonable condition to impose on a conditional use permit for, obvious concerns about commercial traffic through residential areas. So, I think, in addition to that, there aren't any substantial changes to the information in the record.
Mary, we have a motion first, then discussion. Okay, I move to adopt the proposed ordinance approving the rezone of 4.9 acres of real property for rural residential RR to highway commercial HC located on 3118 East Desert Road and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Thank you. Mary's made the motion.
Second.
Curtis seconds the motion. Discussion. Mary.
I have a question. I think Curtis brought up in the last meeting that we wanted to know how much that expansion, how much extra TRT tax the county would be taking in with that expansion. Did we get that answer?
I believe the applicant provided an email suggesting what the additional transient room tax revenue would be. I will just say that's one side of the coin. I'm not saying this in order to show support or opposition, but the revenue side is one piece. There are also increased costs associated with new development. So just want to make sure that the council keeps that in mind. I don't know if it would be a net plus or minus, but the revenue number was provided. It seemed reasonable to me.
I don't remember that number off the top of my head either, but it did have any kind of notes around if the property was developed residentially, how that would affect the tax base. So.
Yeah, I raised that because I felt like those data points are often neglected in all of our issues. It's something that today, this year, versus collected in some of these discussions. So understanding that that's one wrinkle in the issue, it's important to be aware of.
And as an aside on that point, that's a point that is very well taken. And independent from this particular instance, some jurisdictions are moving in the direction of requiring a fiscal analysis to be completed on new development approvals, so that there is a very clear understanding about what fiscal impacts are expected. So if the council wants to go that route, we can talk about it in a separate time.
So I do have a question. This letter of support from the Spanish Valley Drive residents states that, sorry, I should have highlighted it. Oh, okay. Second paragraph, KOA expansion will create less impact on scenic resources and adjacent property than a build out of residential duplexes or townhomes currently allowed by the code. Would you clarify, what is currently allowed by the code? Townhomes and duplexes?
Those could be built there. Ultimately what defines the development potential there now is the density potential. Rural residential is 1 unit per acre. Somebody did a planned unit development, they could certainly cluster those. It doesn't need to consume all 4.9 acres. Property is included in our draft high density development overlay maps. But as things currently stand, 1 unit per acre. And, I guess you could also say an ADU attached to each one of those. So, an accessory dwelling.
So I have a question. You're saying that this is contrary to the plan that was put in place before that was voted on, right? That's why the planning commission.
Yeah, this property is not included in the future land use plan maps commercial development areas. In the future land use plan map, it is identified as a residential. It is identified for residential uses, but it is on the border.
So in the section 927 of the Grand County Land Use Code, which is what provides direction to the Planning Commission and Council in reviewing an application for a zoning map amendment. So within the application, it's trying to determine whether the zone change is reasonable and consistent with the general plan and county code. And if you've read through the application, I think you find that it is. There's been an increase in tourism, an increase in commercial activity. This is a pretty consistent trend, and especially for the area. It's an existing camp park. They've offered some buffers to keep the current modular home in place and to provide some buffers with residential areas. I think there's been some pretty fair concessions made. I would like to see this put to the vote, Madam Chair.
Okay. All those in favor?
Wait, was there a second?
We need a second. Sorry. We have a first. Okay. That's right.
Barry made the motion.
Yeah, because remember I asked you, would it help? It helps with discussions happen first.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? 1, 2. Motion carries 5-2. Thank you.
All right, I suspect you'll see a conditional use permit application in the near future.
We know what to add to it.
That brings us to agenda item K, approving proposed purchase of a brush hog attachment to fit existing excavator. Bill Jackson, Cody McKinney, and Rick Bailey. Do we need him by phone, or can we do this without him?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's give it a try.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
So, give it a try without him. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Oh. Hope he's not waiting.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So, as you know, the change in the wildland fire policy from the state, and I've been involved in that going on a year, I guess, close to it. It became apparent that the road department was going to be somewhat of a player in this, getting some of these mitigation projects completed on an annual basis. And to be honest with you, I kind of felt like my plate was pretty full, so I knew who the guy to go to.
Okay.
Cody is our shop foreman and fleet manager, and he's extensively been in the pay for performance program. We were talking about some IDP ideas, and this came up. And immediately,
I said, this is a good one. You know. So, having said all that, this is part of Cody's IDP for the pay performance. And like I said, he's been involved in that program extensively, and he's done a lot of work on this, and I appreciate it. And he's been very thorough, and now it's yours.
Put your hand up.
You're up.
All right.
Batter up.
So, I'll kind of speak in lieu of Rick not being here too, emergency manager. So basically what we've done is we've worked through trying to come up with a way to solve this roughly $15,000, it's a little more than $15,000 annual change that the county has to now take on. And kind of dealing with some of the state fire people, and as Bill mentioned, with some of the BLM people, the other county members, the other county departments, the emergency management, the sheriff, all these different areas, we've came up with a possible brush hog that can solve the issue really effectively and really quickly, provide some safety, provide the mitigation problems in regard to fire prevention. And so basically, I went through and looked at purchasing versus renting. Of course, the renting would get stuff done really quick, but would it really be effective in the long-term approach of this? And in kind of turning my attention to going to a purchase, it came in that we can actually write off 25% of this purchase, well, up to $15,000 roughly per year, and then so we'd only have a $9,000, $11,000 portion that we'd have to do for 5 years. Purchase it was started at $55,000. It actually started a little over $55,000 with trying to distribute it through a couple different vendors. And in regard to renting, the renting kept falling through just because we were trying to haul this to such a remote area. We needed all the cost and transportation. And so then you're not really getting any prospective mitigation done or any prevention done. And so in turning to kind of a purchase option, in your packets, I think you guys saw, did you guys see the couple of pictures of the different kind of masticators that we're looking at? Yeah. Is everybody familiar with what a masticator is? Kind of. It's basically a it's basically a giant mauling machine for mauling brush and debris. But with dealing with a couple of vendors, it basically came down to they're a little more expensive, and they didn't really suit the one that we wanted that would throw all the debris sideways versus at the machine for operator and equipment protection. So we kind of went with this Econ brand, and the vendors that were trying to get them from us, it basically came down to there was one distributor not in the western United States, but in Utah, which is where the closest purchasing ability, and trying to look at state contracts and different things where we could possibly get this. They were basically playing a middleman, so I just went right directly, and we ended up getting it for a little less than $55,000, which was the original cost. We're not going to have to armor up our machines. The operator will be more protected. I'm not saying that we won't have to put some basic guarding on to prevent some ricocheting debris, but we're not going to have to drop $12,000 into protective equipment across the front of our machine. And then it's something that we can also utilize for other areas, if we need to do other departments with some mitigation along the river, with road work, with all kinds of other things. It'll be a county-owned implement that can be used basically at any time because it'll be owned, and then we'll just have to budget out and keep track of so we can divvy out this $15,800 worth of work. So is there any other questions about?
If I could add a little bit. On my perspective on this is kind of selfish, actually. As far as the road department, we can use this type of machine attachment to our excavator pretty constant basis on some of our right-of-ways and roadways, not in the valley by no means, but on some of our outer roads. And as we attempt to do our fire mitigation, we'll bring in, say if we work on a federal land, say it's a BLM versus Forest Service, but either one, we'll bring their fire people in and say, this is what we're looking at right here, a project here, and it could be just that's going to help the fire mitigation, but it could also help visibility around a corner on the road, those kind of things. And so we're trying to use this in just an all-around effort to help the Grand County and the users of our roads out there. And I suspect once the word gets out that Grand County has this piece of machinery, that we maybe be getting phone calls and saying, hey, look, we need this work done here, maybe on the Riverway or something like that. So it could be a challenge after that. Get projects done. But, of course, the fire mitigation will definitely be the priority.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of a new 2017 Baycon BH80 EXC to fit cat excavator 320 CL with quick coupler in the amount of $52,450 from Komatsu Equipment and $1,000 for required parts and accessories to match the two pieces of equipment, and authorize the chair to sign all associated paperwork.
Okay, Greg made the motion. Patrick seconds the motion. Any more discussion? I'm waiting for the magic words. Is it within budget?
That's what I was going to ask.
It is.
In this year's budget.
Because it's not on the paper.
It's my understanding, I've talked to Diana, and it's been amended in the 2017 budget, and we will be getting reimbursed yearly for the $15,000. So just under 4 years, it'll be reimbursed back.
Reimbursed.
Don't you anticipate other costs to meet that mitigation requirement? With that $15,000 like that towards?
Such as maintenance, things of that nature.
Operator.
Yeah, that all would go in that. That's all part of that mitigation funding.
So I'm saying if the cost, there's other places to spend that mitigation reimbursement besides the equipment cost.
Yeah. I say, well, so if we're out on a mitigation project, the machine time, the operator time, all gets billed to that $15,000. If that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yes.
Mobilization, everything.
But you still have to do extra.
Right.
Yeah. So essentially, it won't take long to burn up $15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the projects will be able to do project yearly pretty quickly.
And the state sent down additional responsibilities.
Yeah, there's an unfunded.
They should earmark some money for
This was difficult for the county to come up with a way to meet the $15,000 requirement without having the fire department to do the work. So we looked at this and we decided this was the best way to go.
And if I'm not mistaken, the districts have to do the same thing.
Yeah, each of the other Castle Valley Fire District and Moab Valley Fire District have additional $15,000 for them to do as well. So, but the county in the private property outside of the fire districts, that was our responsibility. So we had $15,000 to do this the best way we can. We solved the problem this way. So.
Okay. And Curtis, one thing too, if I may add, and I think Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, because you follow this a lot closer than I do too. The ultimate goal of this too is to take that $15,843 and the exact figure, I don't know, but the 15,000 range. And as you do these projects, especially on private land, the state will start, instead of sending $15,000 down that you have to cover, the ultimate goal is to get that down to where you're getting down to basically to zero. Because as you do these different projects, the fire threat gets minimized. And that, I think, is the ultimate goal with this project, is to minimize the potential of taking structures and different things of that nature on the private property sector.
And the benefit to that to the state is that they're responsible for fighting out that fire on private land. They incur the cost of fighting that fire. So if the county goes in and mitigates on private property and lessens the chance of fire, lessens their costs for fighting a non-existent fire, those kinds of things. So it's interesting.
Were you trying to say something?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to point out process-wise, the reason that you don't see 3 bids and you're not doing contract award or bid award and all that is because it's a sole source provider to have that particular attachment fit our existing equipment. And the purchasing policy does allow for sole source provider so that we don't have to go out to bid.
Okay, ready for a vote? All in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Okay, motion carries. 6 to, is it 0 to 1 abstaining? Okay, with Councilman Clapper.
No, I don't understand it all, and I feel the way it's, I wasn't ready to vote. So I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not.
Fair
I'm not
enough.
going to get in your way.
Was it last year or this year? When was it we had to go through that real hard process?
It was, yeah, Liz.
And if I might, thank you. Motion carries and you're on next, but before we move on, let me just say that for the last voting on the 4.9 acre rezone, I neglected to mention those voting opposed were Clapper and Fox. Okay, now, that brings us to item L, approving proposed purchase of a digital traffic message board.
Do we need to stand up and come back?
Please do.
Turn around.
So, do you want me to
Yeah, go
speak
ahead.
in lieu?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll speak in lieu of Rick Bailey, our emergency manager. I've been working with him on this a little bit. He gave me some of his notes and things, so I hope that I can answer any questions that you guys have. Basically, the proposal is for a traffic sign that we can utilize, and I think his approach is that he's trying to get it for not only for emergency situations, but also, possibly being able to use it for events, possibly maybe road work with Bill, which I think is why we were discussing why we may be sitting in on this. But I think it was basically, so the county departments can utilize it, the sheriff's department can utilize it, road work emergency events such as Jeep Safari. In one of his notes, he did say that, and I'm not exact with this figure either, but I think Jeep Safari last year when they brought in the signboard for the, increased traffic on Main Street that they used, I think they spent about $1,000 on that one event for one of these boards. It's a simple mobilization. We have a couple in our fleet right now, but they literally probably take 2 hours to set up a piece, and then the parts and pieces for them have kind of been, from what I understand with Rick trying to get parts to replace the broken pieces or the pieces that don't work, they've been discontinued, so they're just getting outdated. It's time to kind of upgrade, and it's a serious upgrade, but the whole community can probably benefit from it. The rental side of it, the rental boards that you see sitting out at, say, for instance, Grand Rental, most of those are aero boards, so they're not the digital display that's going to say, road work ahead. 141 is snowpack. There's not going to be any, there's an accident. Please slow down, or however you can do this. It's a 3-line board, but the rental ones that you do see out there, they aren't technically the display boards, they're aero boards. from what Rick was saying with they're staged in St. George, so if you do have an event or anything coming up, the one that they got for Jeep Safari, it took them a couple of days to get it up here from St. George. So if you do have an emergency that happens overnight or during night or even during the middle of the day, you're a 4.5 hour drive to try to get something up here.
If you drove north recently this summer, you've seen them all over the Arches entrance there, saying Arches closed. You know, same idea.
Yeah, in fact that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Essentially, UDOT now has a no borrow policy. You know, they're not gonna let you borrow one.
And then if we can just hear you utter the magic words, I bet we're ready for a motion.
I think that's really why I'm here, because it's not very often do I get to spend somebody else's money, and it is within Rick's budget.
All right.
I looked for that. Isn't it usually on it?
It is on
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion, please.
Please do.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the new Wanco brand traffic sign board with solar panels from Safety Supply and Sign Company Incorporated, which company has the State of Utah UDOT purchasing contract for this item in the amount of $14,750, and authorize the chair to sign all associated paperwork.
When did we switch from paper documents to paperwork? I like documents better. Anyway, Greg has made the motion. Do we have a second? Patrick seconds the motion. Any more discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
So those two smaller boards that you guys have, you're still going to use those? Are they still operable?
I think they'll end up probably on surplus. I haven't touched bases with Rick on what exactly he has. I've seen those in the just about 15 years I've worked here. I've seen them one time.
Okay.
So I don't even know where they are. So I'll have to touch bases with Rick on that, and maybe something.
Is there possibly an opportunity to trade them into this company to reduce cost?
Again, talking with Rick, I would say probably not, since it's the state contract and Safety Sign and Supply are in the business of probably trying to get their new stuff out there versus I know that some with a lot of the electronic stuff that we use in the county, we can turn it into the IT department and they can dispose of it or discard of it, however we need to do it. But as far as
I just wonder if we can get a few bucks out of it. That's all.
Yeah, it just costs.
You don't think so?
No, especially like Cody says, it's through a state contract.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Any more? Evan?
Is this coming out of the 2017 budget?
I'm assuming it's coming out of the 2017 budget.
That's what I was. I'm just making sure. Okay. Got a motion to approve the purchase of this piece of equipment. Seconded. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rick owes us a steak dinner.
No. Okay, item M, approving bid award for construction of 2 shade structures at Sandflats Recreation Area. And it is clearly spelled out that it is approved as part of the SFRA Capital Improvement Budget 2017.
Yes.
Andrea.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you today. This contract is for the construction of 2 shade structures at group campsites at Sandflats. This picture shows one of the group stick campsites, E10, and the other one is E1. And then this is what the shade structures will look like. We want them to be built just like the plans that we used in 2011 for the Slick Rock shade structure at the Slick Rock Trailhead. And so building these shade structures at the group campsites will bring us in line with the amenities offered at the surrounding BLM land area group campsites, and it will also extend the usable season for group site camping. The project includes construction of 2 of these. They're 160 square feet, and they're post and beam construction with metal roofs.
Like I said, this was built in 2011. We have a similar one up there built in 2009. They have been really no maintenance costs over those years. It's a good design. It's a design we actually got from the BLM years ago with the same plans. And we put this in the paper as required for two issues, and we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting on site. Jeff Whitney attended, and myself and Joe Engelbrecht, and we had one contractor show up. That was Claude Lawson. We received one bid prior to the closing date on November 1st, and that was opened in the clerk's office. And Lawson Construction's bid was for $16,900 for both or two shade structures. And this is actually a little bit less than what we paid in 2011 for one shade structure. I guess two is cheaper. So, so anyway, that's the story. Any questions?
I move to approve the proposed bid award and contract agreement between Grand County and Lawson Construction, Inc. for the construction of two shade structures at the Sand Flats Rec area as presented, and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Thank you. Evan has made the motion. Rory seconds the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Councilman Patrick Trim had to leave early, so thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Okay, we've already done item N, so that brings us to item O, approving proposed memorandum of understanding between Utah State University, Grand County, and the City of Moab regarding the proposed new USU Moab campus. Councilman Wells.
Pretty straightforward. This is the product of the county identifying the need to have some kind of tangible commitment with Utah State University, even if it's just through an MOU, that if we participate financially with the city on the CIB loan to build the infrastructure, that the university will and indeed are committed to raising money and building a destination campus. But item 2, I'm particularly proud of, in that the exploration of reasonable growth pertaining to program and curriculum in accordance with their rural education mission and in alignment with county and city economic development goals. It was good that they agreed to sign on to that, because that was always one of my large concerns, was we were just building a large, expensive distance learning center. So it took quite a while to get this through the legal gears up at USU, and it has gone back and forth, but the city is happy with this. I'm comfortable with this. It is just an MOU, a written handshake. I think it's a positive note in that the project's been up and down and left and right, and the execution of this marks that we are making real momentum. We have a real partnership with the city and USU to make this a reality. The president of the university will be here tomorrow to sign this in person. Legislators will be here tomorrow to talk about legislative support for the campus. We'll be doing a tour site of the future location, and we're rolling. So with that, I don't have the...
I move to approve the proposed memorandum of understanding between Utah State University and Grand County and City of Moab regarding the proposed new USU Moab campus, and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Thank you. Evan made the motion. Do we have a second? Mary seconds the motion. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just add that I know sometimes And I know there were some folks that felt like this may be overstepping our bounds by bringing everyone to the table and asking for commitments to be made in ink. But one of the great things that we've done through this is we have brought people together, and having the president of the university down and the legislators down, we're working and we're getting on the same page. And I just think this is a really, really healthy exercise for the community, and I'm appreciative that you guys provided support for us to get this done. So.
Kudos to you, Curtis. I think it's good to eliminate a lot of the assumptions that we were working under, get everything out by today. So, you bet.
All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Curtis.
Council Chair, if I could just quickly say, we're going to take out that blank line, and it'll just say project located at Moab, Utah. And then the date at the bottom will say agreed to and accepted by all parties on, and that'll be tomorrow's date, and that'll be the signing.
Yeah, that's what I might have here. Okay.
Thank you.
Item P, ratifying the recommendation of Southeast Utah Board of Health to appoint Braden Bradford as the local health officer. The board did meet in an open session with the purpose of discussing the hiring of a health officer. Went into closed session, discussed various things, and out of closed session made the motion to rescind an old existing motion that was to continue the search. And after that motion was rescinded, somebody made a motion to hire Braden Bradford, and that's where we're at now. He has accepted the position pending the ratification of all 3 counties, which is how state code dictates that it be done. So I would take a motion to that order. Curtis?
I move to ratify the recommendation of Southeastern Utah Board of Health to appoint Braden Bradford as the interim local health officer and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Thank you. Curtis has made the motion. Mary seconds the motion. Any discussion? Questions?
What's the interim term?
Interim term?
It's I mean, it's just like a temporary position, or is that?
Does it say interim?
It does.
Ooh.
We should probably. I think that's just an issue with the agenda center. I'd be happy to restate the motion.
Yeah. Thanks for catching that.
Substitute motions. I move to ratify the recommendation of Southeast Utah Board of Health to appoint Braden Bradford as the local health officer and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Curtis made the motion. Mary, are you okay with seconding that motion?
Yeah, I'm thankful to Evan for catching that.
All right. Now, is there any discussion?
I'd be interested to hear your 2 cents on it. Or your support of the motion, or go ahead.
I support the district staying together, and in my opinion, this is the first step. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Ooh. Approving proposed letter to U.S. Congress in support of programs for payment in lieu of taxes and U.S. Forest Service secure rural schools. Oh, it's got my name on it. I know those 2 pots of money are important. To me, it's a no-brainer. So you do see the letter on your dais for agenda item Q. And I only had time to briefly scan it, but it looked good to me.
Could we have a moment to read it?
Sure.
I haven't got an opportunity. I feel much more comfortable if we could read it.
Definitely.
I feel much more comfortable. I could slip in a note to Chuck.
Have to work that out with whoever sends it.
You guys can slip one to whoever my guys are, Mitch and Paul.
Oh,
I was way wrong. I was reading all day long.
It's not every day you see a letter with those titles at the top of it. Oh, this is good. Who,
No, this came in from NACO, National Association of Counties. And there was a due date to where you all, so this was forwarded to you all, but you can provide your written comments online as well. But it's meant to be supported to Washington directly. And so our chair thought it would be good if you approved it both as a council and as well as individual council members.
I've been seeing the emails come in, and I know they've been urging us, so thank you for catching that and acting on it, because it is really important.
It seemed like their deadline was, I don't remember, it seems like it was the 16th of November. It was before our next meeting. That's why we revised the agenda to get it on here.
Okay, I think even with that, Rory, we're probably ready for vote. And we nobody can make a motion. Okay, fine. Mary makes the motion.
I make a motion that we approve the proposed letter to the U.S. Congress to support programs for payment in lieu of taxes and U.S. Forest Service Secure Rural Schools, SRS, and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Thank you, Mary. Make the motion. Curtis seconds the motion. Discussion. All in favor. Motion carries 6-0. Which now brings us to our consent agenda, and it's only 5:30. Wow. Very impressive.
It's like just, that's something you monitor, but you don't vocalize.
Oh,
Just like the W word, like a bunch of other river.
Okay, I would take a motion.
I move to adopt the consent agenda as presented and authorize the chair to sign all associated documents.
Thank you, Curtis. Make the motion. Mary seconds the motion. Discussion. All in favor then? Motion carries 6-0.
Did you read them out?
I did. I was just going to ask you, shall I?
Yeah, I think you should, for the record.
Item Q and item R on the consent agenda is approving retail beer license for grassroots events. Moab's Red Hot 55K, 35K, located at Poison Spider Trailhead. Item S is approving proposed cooperative agreement between the state of Utah Department of Transportation and Grand County for US 191 drainage improvements. Item T is ratifying the chair's signature on proposed GIS, Geographic Information System Support Block with GIS Inc., a state contract, in the budgeted amount of $20,000. Item U is approving fiscal year 2017 State Homeland Security Program grant allocation in the amount of $223,499 for September 1st, 2017 through June 20th, 2020. And that is it for the consent agenda. Motion carried 6-0. Yes.
What you just read off.
It's the amended agenda.
Yeah. I did.
A similar question: do we have identified places where apply for a retail beer license? Or is it just
You have to go through. I think it's a question. What was the question?
I was surprised to see that a trailhead was being approved for retail beer license. And I was curious.
Any events in Grant County, if we're going to have beer or.
Right, but we haven't pre-specified spots that are okay. Like you could just kind of say, "Can I sell beer?" Wherever.
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just a local consent, and then they do have to apply for the DABC
Okay,
So
I know
we
the
have to-
city has like this park you can, that park.
They have their own.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's-
don't remember those yet.
Better to go.
Yeah.
I'm always on. We might just get out early tonight. Okay, then we come to discussion item, calendar items, and public notices. Brian E. Hill Chamberlain. Brian E. Chamberlain. Okay.
All right, for your November calendars, this Friday, November 10th, county offices will be closed for Veterans Day observed. November 14th at 10 a.m. is the canvass of the election. November 15th through the 17th is UAC. That's in St. George. November 16th at 9 a.m. is Learn to Drive. So I think every 2 years, there's a driving course that is required if you're going to be driving county cars. So that's coming up. Do we have to do it every year? No, once every 2 years. Yeah. So we did it last year and we did it until next year.
If you all drive a county car or even a leased car, you are supposed to take this.
They do try to make it
every 2 years.
No.
On your own. You can drive what?
November 16th at 1:30 is performance review committee. Is anybody interested in going to that?
When is that? I'm probably gone.
You're gone. You're out of the.
I think. Let me check my calendar. No, I don't know. But let me check. I don't want to say yes. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Just let me put it on.
Thank you.
November 16th.
So, can we move back to the Learn to Drive? Would you mind sending us?
I've made myself a note to do that. It's in person. You don't actually get in behind a car, and it's over at the city hall. But,
I just can't remember if I went last year or the year before, and I will be driving a county car during this event. So.
I think an email did go out though, from Janice Smith. Do you recall something like that?
Performance review.
Yeah, I did see one.
Okay. I can send it again though.
But I don't know what I'm saying is I don't know if I've done the requisite every other year.
Okay.
I've only done it once. Are you going to yank my driving privileges?
How can we find out? Because that might have been,
Ruth's going to send us a list of who.
what I'll have to do, I mean, if there were sign-in sheets, the HR director and Jen. Yeah,
I think maybe it was 2 years ago I went to it because that was my first year. But I need to go again.
Okay.
Do we need to be here for the canvas?
There needs to be a forum.
Absolutely. It's a quick meeting, 10, 15 minutes, but it's very important.
Okay, November 23rd and 24th, county offices will be closed for Thanksgiving holiday. And any changes for November? December calendars. December 7th, 9 a.m. Canyon Country Partnership, and that is here at the Grand Center. December 22nd and 25th, county offices will be closed for the Christmas holiday. And
I have a question. Here on this calendar, it's saying the mosquito abatement is on Thursday.
so it wasn't updated in this.
So it is on
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
And we haven't discussed how we're going to do that.
Next meeting.
Next meeting.
Sorry, the 10 a.m. on the 14th.
Yes.
I thought we changed it to 12, so we didn't have to come back. What day was it?
14th, 10 o'clock.
Employment opportunities, building department, permit floodplain testing. Technician closes November 10th. EMT Basic closes December 31st. Grand County Sheriff's Office Assistant Food Service Manager in the jail closes December 31st. Corrections Officer, Patrol Deputy, and Communications Dispatch all close December 31st. And Road Department Operator 1 closed November 17th. Special events, November 18th, Death Force Ultra. November 22nd through 23rd is GGBY. And December 2nd is the Winter Sun 10K. And there will be a public hearing at the next council meeting, November 21st at 6 p.m. for the consolidated fee.
What?
Consolidated fee schedule ordinance. And then also on the dais, you guys have a couple news releases from Arches. One of them being proposed traffic congestion management plan, and there will be a public open house November 16th. 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Grand Center. And then the other one is a news release regarding peak season fee increases in 17 parks. Arches and Canyonlands are among those. And then public comment is, you can provide public comment until November 23rd, and you can do that. There's a website on the second page that you can go to.
Both of those news releases have the link within them that was sent to you so that you can make written comment individually. And if you all want to make written comment as a unit, then I need to know to get that on the agenda. Otherwise, I'll assume you don't.
And then also, what's not in your packet is the board and district volunteers. So the reason why it wasn't is because it closed November 1st. But we still have nothing yet for Boundary Commission, mosquito abatement, and the rec district. So, I'm sorry? Boundary Commission, and there's 2 vacancies. Mosquito abatement, there's 1, and then the rec district is 1. And the rec district is a midterm appointment.
So all the other districts got applications?
Sorry, I was trying to open my calendar app. Can we back up to Tuesday the 21st, our next council meeting? That day, there's also the Southeastern Utah Association of Government. And what time did the budget meeting get scheduled for?
So an email went out today, but noon with lunch till up to 2 o'clock. I have rescheduled ALG to start at 2 instead of 1:30. And go till about 3:30 or 3:45, and then you'll have a little break before your 4 o'clock meeting. It's gonna be another long day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, brings us to there are no public hearings, so we'll have general council reports and future considerations.
The only one I had was Housing Task Force, when they would attend. They haven't did that for me, so I will let you address that. And I have nothing else.
All right, Mary.
We had our tailings pile removal committee meeting, and we're still waiting to hear because there hasn't been a budget for 2018, so we're still keeping the pressure on to get further funding. They did increase it a small amount. I don't have my notes in front of me, so I don't want to say the number, but we're still pressing for the 45 over the 35. And I'm meeting with our new code enforcer with Deb Barton and Dan Kilpatrick. I think that's right. I'm almost retired. To start a committee to deal with cleanup in the community. And and raising funds and helping people in that process and having forms and have it set up so that we can do it in a way that protects us and protects the property owners. So that was going to be on the 13th, but we moved that meeting to the 20th. So that is all that's happened since I left.
And Mary, just so you know, the meeting location will change on that. It'll still be 3 to 5 on the 20th, or whatever your time was. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. You guys getting my meetings confused.
Yeah,
I do. Never mind.
Really tired.
You're good.
I can't even remember my kids' names at this point.
I have some exciting news. The library finally approved, I should say finally. After over a year's worth of effort, the library has approved a strategic plan document that then a bunch of other things hinge on. So that was a long time making, and it has literally been an agenda item every library board meeting I've ever attended. And so we finally passed that. We can move on to all these other ones. The Friends of the Library had a book sale, and coincidentally overlapped with Folk Fest. So a lot of folks that were hanging out in the ball fields wandered in, and it was a good sale. So they made a bunch of money that's going to be donated to the library. And, so all rainbows and unicorns over there. I subbed for Greg at the Interlocal Housing Task Force, which so it was my first meeting there, so it was pretty exciting for me to see what they were up to. Traditionally, it's been a kind of an information sharing group, and they're feeling really motivated to make moves within the community for themselves. So they're trying to be a little more action oriented rather than just they used to get together so that they could share information between what's going on in terms of housing, and now they're like wanting to they're trying to create housing basically, and so they're actually trying to. I don't. So, like I said, it's my first meeting, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But it was not my impression that it has anything really to do with the county. We were just kind of financially, so we were just kind of there to kind of hear what was going on, so that we can come spread the word of what the private sector and nonprofits. The hospital was there, so. All the school district, all these folks who are like feeling the pains of not having affordable housing for the workforce, were at the table, and it sounds like they're trying to make moves toward essential workforce housing projects, mainly to help nurses, and teachers, and stuff be able to get footing as they arrive to the community, so they can attract folks. And with that, they're kind of looking at a possible land swap with some land that we have out by Old City Park, and trying to hopefully find a realtor developer that has land closer into town where vehicles wouldn't necessarily be needed, and people, nurses in particular, could fulfill their 15-minute response time. It's just exciting to see other folks that aren't government employees wrestling with all this and coming to the table together. They did want to change the name so that as they're reaching out to other entities upstate and such, that there's some kind of geographic identifier rather than just Interlocal Housing Task Force. So I think everyone's leaning towards the Moab Region Housing Task Force or something, Moab area. And so yeah, the big discussion around the role of the Housing Task Force with the HTA. And then there was a geodesign workshop that a lot of us were invited to a while back, last spring. And now that is kind of being offered again to the community as a whole, and they're encouraging a lot of folks to come. So there was a presentation about that again. And so I think we got an invite in the emails. Yeah, so I think we as a county are doing a lot of work around that, and this is kind of something that's happening parallel to that. And so, not to discount their efforts, but I think they're trying to address a lot of things that we've already put a lot of manpower into. And so, I don't want to dilute our efforts too much and try to spread it around. That makes sense.
I forgot something that was kind of exciting too. Is they're doing a Medicaid expansion that will help our homeless in our community. But guess how much money they can make a month in order to qualify? $50 is all.
So they have to make less than $50 to qualify? Well, that encourages them to get out and work.
No, it's through the state, but it's to qualify for it is a lot of people aren't going to be able to get it. If they make over $50 a month, they won't qualify, and they have to be homeless like on the date of the. So it's only going to help about 3 or 4 of our homeless at the most, but still, it will help them, and it will help them with, getting help with the drug and alcohol issues and mental health, and or just if they have some illness. So it won't fall on the hospitals when they go to the emergency room. So that was good news. It wasn't as good as everybody was thinking because there's more restrictions on it. It's going to help the people up the Wasatch Front a lot. That's why they probably pushed it.
That was all I had.
Let's see, I attended a land use seminar Saturday morning this last weekend I think it was from 8 or 9 a.m. to about 1 o'clock. Tawny Knutson Boyd from the City Council also attended, and I found it to be pretty good, actually, and very helpful. I encourage fellow council members to attend a similar seminar. I think they do that twice a year. And there were folks from the League of Cities and Towns, UAC, but it gives you just a very good 101 on land use and role and responsibility and processes. And I'm wishing that I would have taken that seminar earlier. It's definitely created some light bulbs that have popped up in my head as far as being on the same page as much as possible with Planning Commission and providing good direction for them, and so that we can avoid unnecessary conflicts or inconsistencies. So it was good. I found it to be helpful. It was just a land use seminar. We got the email. Zachariah encouraged us to attend, and I forget what the title was. Anyways, Coffee with Kurt, we had a slight drop off in attendance this last month, but it was good. I had someone come in and raise some more concerns about the bed and breakfast up on George White. And we got some things cleared up, but it appears that is still an issue. And I did get an email from a concerned citizen that property resurfaced on VRBO and was marketed as a nightly rental. So, I guess to me, we've done lots of things. We've hired the enforcement officer. We did get a report from Zachariah's office, and I think we had a request sent out to legal as far as potential fines or penalties or something like that. I'm not quite sure where we're at on all of that, but this engagement with the concerned citizen definitely, it's something that is obviously, as you're all aware, that people are very concerned and frustrated about, and there's been some action from the council to try to enhance our ability to enforce people that are taking advantage of loopholes in bed and breakfasts. We did have not a joint meeting, but we had some members of the Planning Commission, and I think there was some an ordinance to amend B&B business applications, and we agreed on some of it. Where did we end up on that?
I believe the planning commission is meeting over at the Grant Center tonight, right now, and have a public hearing on the B&B.
So
The amendments to it.
yeah, I think we kicked it back to them, didn't we?
Yeah, there was a 6-month moratorium.
But I mean, just on the amendments to the applications for business licenses, right? The regulations, more or less, on how a property, the requirements of the business, like the on-site person.
So they're taking another stab at it, changing those up, and they're having a hard time kind of deciding. And I think the last meeting I was at, they were basically kind of drafting 3 options. They were, to kind of be like, oh, yeah, so it's, I don't think they're going to take a very firm stance on what they want. Just like, oh, here's A, B, or C.
So
And they're going to kick it to the council to pick A, B, or C.
I was at the last one.
Well, I'm not sure what they're doing tonight.
Yeah, and they were going through like using the Google Maps and trying to really figure out what they were, instead of just this arbitrary map. What are we talking about here?
What
does
areas?
this place look like? It was. I thought it was a very productive. It was one of the better meetings I've sat through.
So
they are working.
I think they're looking at the buffer. I think they all included owner operated. So there were some variances in buffers. There was some stuff about like being required to provide trailer parking on site and some things that they're like, well, do we really want to force people, or is that like something that you can offer? And how can you say you can't park in the street? So they're getting down into the weeds with it.
that's good, because I remember we kind of kicked it back to them. But so I guess I would just say in my mind, once we get that established, then it really is up to our ability to enforce, financially, exactly what that looks like. And it's important that we grow comfortable with our ability to enforce and stop it. I think people are getting frustrated, so I'm looking forward to us getting to that point and finding the best way to enforce. And our ability to impose fines is, that money talks, and people that are not following the rules are threatened with large fines. That tends to make a dent on illegal activity. So I'm looking forward to all that coming together. People are still frustrated about it. Let's see, I had another copy with Kurt, concerned citizen, and it's escaped me what their issue was. I'll think of it. I've got it in my notes. We've got a UDOT scoping meeting, which is a closed-door meeting at UDOT's request, just a strategizing meeting scheduled to take place here Monday, minus a quorum from the county and the city. So it'll be a handful: Zachariah, Bill Jackson, myself, Jay Lynn, and basically our counterparts at the city and UDOT. It's on UDOT's dime. They're bringing in a consultant, and what that is to identify projects for potential applicability to that $100 million appropriation. The benchmark to have those projects identified is April of 2018 is when we will make our formal request for funding from UDOT. So I'm really looking forward to that meeting.
So that's the transportation congestion thing, or that's the access to public?
It's the next phase in this transportation committee that we put together to apply for this money. We were awarded the $300,000, and so we're in the game now. So now it's time. UDOT has a consultant that they've used they've already went down and done Washington County Zion National Park, and they've got this consultant that they bring in, and they coordinate the meeting and flush out what projects, prioritize them. At that point, we have something tangible. And I would assume once we get that flushed out, you'll be seeing something on the dais from the group. No decisions will be made in the scoping meeting. It's just to allow the projects to surface. So it's a closed door meeting at UDOT's request. So we have a specific list of invitees at their request. They wanted to keep the group from 10 to 12. So with that, the maximum amount of the council members was 2. So Jay Lynn, being council chair, was invited, and myself, and kind of coordinating that process. So that's Monday in these council chambers from 1 to 5, 1 to 4. But I keep everybody in the loop once those we have county staff involved. Once those projects are shook out and we start marching towards that April deadline, we'll be discussing what those projects are. And UDOT then has $300,000 to analyze those potential projects. Great development. Another thing that's interesting is a contact of mine sent me an administrator from Duke University Nicholas School of the Environment, which is one of the top environmental science programs in the country. They do a master's in environmental science graduate student kind of internship type projects where they help renewable energy companies or public entities or nonprofits study, analyze, solve problems. And it crossed my desk, and so I decided just to send them a note expressing potential interest from Grand County and having some of these grad students help us with look at some of the economic diversification, environmental issues of rural post-mining communities struggling with the segue to a commercial tourism economy and the challenges of infrastructure and land policy and economic development and all of that. Immediately they got back to me and they're really interested. So it's been pretty broad. I think my intent is to get them interested in more of a people, profit, planet perspective and how to help us. We've got an economic development plan that we'll be writing next year. Maybe to have them come in and assist in that and provide some services, data analysis. I think it's just an opportunity for some good work from a really good program. And so I'm going to keep working on that and see how that develops. And that's all I have.
And I apologize to you. We did skip item W, discussion on proposed joint legislative action plan. You want to say about that one?
Madam Chair and I met with Mayor Dave Everett a couple weeks ago to talk about what our legislative action plan between the city and the county will look like. And so we kind of have it broken up into several categories. We've got like an action list of legislative items we know bills have been filed that we have a position on and we're going to be working. We've got kind of more of a monitor list of things that we have a position on, bills that failed, bills that passed that we anticipate resurfacing. And so we're kind of just laid out the framework for how we work together with them on that. We did go through kind of our first rough draft legislative items, which was basically what we discussed at the council retreat, USU Moab, the short-term rentals regulations that we opposed that I guess they're not expecting to introduce further legislation on that issue. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're hearing.
So the libertarians aren't going to bring up. That's dead.
Well, the bill passed, but it was set with a goofy compromise, and that people have the ability to market their properties, but it didn't take away our ability to enforce that or to restrict business licenses. And I think that was the reason why that compromise was oddly set, is because it was just the product of a struggle, and Representative Notwell that introduced that bill, pushed that bill, has evidently expressed a lack of interest to move forward, and so it's just going to sit as is. So that's just on our monitor list. Ruth had Zachariah draft a resolution in opposition of that, and so we basically just put that on idle and keep that in our back pocket in the event that that bill or further legislation is registered and we can file and we can get to work on it. Let's see. Other items on the agenda are TRT, more flexibility with TRT, collections, issues with TRT. UAC is hosting a meeting that Jenny Lynn and I will attend next week that was being driven by UAC to discuss the issue. It shows that UAC is interested in giving different perspectives and understanding what a bill might look like. We discussed the importance between the city and the county to try to keep UAC and the league of cities and towns working as collaboratively in a parallel fashion, similar to what we hope to do with the city and the county on legislative issues. So hopefully they'll get to be working on something. So I think that's a positive. I can't think of any other issues on the list right now. There's, I think this is what's cool about it is that if there's an issue that's important to you guys, we can write a bill and we can draft a bill and get one of our representatives, work on it collaboratively, get one of our representatives to carry it. And so I think that's probably something that we haven't really done is actually sit and what do we want to be changed that we think realistically we can get done. And if we can get the council to agree on that, that can be added to our legislative agenda. And I think just the fact that we have the governor and we're talking about these issues that we've been debated with, we've batted pretty solid with the governor. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's come up and talk about it. And so it's really, just like council members can write a white paper about an issue, we can write a damn bill and get someone to carry it and get to work.
The school district did that. Margaret Hopkins, and they passed it. Really helped the school district.
So if there's issues, as we continue working through these things, that we could push some legislation. I'm really interested in that because a lot of the stuff is kind of more reactive. The STR regulation is reactive. USU is pretty standard stuff. TRT probably is a good example of an opportunity to actually drive legislation and changes that we identify in Grand County that need to be changed. So that's something that as we kind of refine our retreat, we talked about like our county strategic plan from year to year, what do we want to accomplish this year. That's a good place to kind of start to plug those things in, and our legislative agenda is under the umbrella of kind of that strategic plan. So keep that in mind. That's it.
I went to I did not go to the Housing Authority meeting. I read through their minutes and the executive director's report, and because I wasn't able to attend, I was out of town. But as you know, the application for the low-income housing tax credit was submitted on October 2nd. They expect to hear word by mid to late December on whether or not it was funded. I did see an email today saying that they have received a response that Ben was looking for, and he thought it was good news because there were no glaring bad things about the application, so that's looking hopeful. They also intend to engage more fully with the Moab Area Community Land Trust regarding potentially developing the land that was recently donated out of the Royal Crossing. That would potentially provide some workforce housing. They're still working on potential deed restriction administration proposal for the city and the county. Their goal is to get that proposal by the end of the year, and then is continue to follow the deed restrictions for the mutual fund holders. Canyon Country Partnership is always a delight to go to. CIFLA reported that a decision on the Pinnacle helicopter permit to land near Horseshoe Canyon is expected in the next couple of weeks. BLM stated that Pinnacle has applied for a permit to land in Mineral Rock. San Juan County reported they have a new $5 million building to house public health and mental health, and one other thing that I can't remember what I said. Tom Adams from State Outdoor Recreation said that they're working on a 1,000 family-friendly trails initiative. They've not defined what family-friendly means, and the trails cannot already be existing, so it's part of their Marketing Utah thing. And he reported that, and I saw this in my mail, a 0.32% TRT tax increase begins January 1st for outdoor recreation grants, and that will generate $5 million over the next 4 to 5 years. Everyone's welcome to apply for those grants. I was thinking that it would help for the signage that the BLN came in and talked to us about the old Spanish Trail, things like that. Oh, really?
Did you say a helicopter company?
Pinnacle Helicopter.
So that's probably because there's a.
Yeah, it's an existing strip.
Pinnacle is a tenant out of the airport. We have a lease with them.
Then we also have some ordinance that any kind of commercial air stuff has to happen.
Apparently, the one at Mineral Bottom is on BLM. Horseshoe Canyon stuff sounds like that's and they did clarify. I mean, when you read the newspaper articles about it, it sounds like it. You know, they're going to land and right there at the mouth of Horseshoe Canyon. They're just going to get off and walk. But Brian said that the nearest site is 2.5 miles from Horseshoe Canyon, which not quite as egregious. What? You want to say something?
I saw some kind of promotional thing that they had written up, and it was like, enjoy the silence of being in the middle of town. And it's like, what? Yeah. It's like, what about everybody else that worked hard to get there?
Division.
I think that goes back to some of that Jim Styles, like forecasting.
Division of Oil, Gas, and Minerals said that somebody, I should have taken better notes, asked for permission to drill in a plug well for lithium water. They're going to apply for a permit to mine lithium, assuming they find it.
Who's that?
That was Division of Oil, Gas, and Minerals, and I don't know who the company was. I don't even know if it was in Grant County, because this is a Tri-County thing. Oh, is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's just the traditional drilling process, or is that a injection well?
It's in a subsurface brine. It's kind of similar to the depths of potash, and so they would pump the brine to the surface. But I think at this point, as the county is concerned, you'll see a lot of acquisition, some exploration, production system. We've seen zero production of potash. That was after 6 years of acquisition and a decent amount of explorations. It's still ways out, but it's pumping brines up to the surface. They separate them. The only existing line in the United States is Nevada. So it's a big evaporation ponds. That's kind of just what I thought was funny about the MLP thing is we were still talking about oil, gas, and potash. That's pretty much how the world is really other stuff is living. Understand marijuana is still forcing. But there is, just to verify, there is a lot of activity in the county between 191 and the Green River and that whole.
Well, he also said the company seemed to be rebounding from the oil and gas crash. Tim Parks, Tim Smith, State Parks, recreational golf is on the decline. Disc golf is up and coming, and people have tournaments and they draw tourists for disc golf. People should consider that.
We have one.
I know.
Yeah, we do. It's there's a disc golf course that we have. Yeah, out of what's that? Base camp. Keep this in your mind.
There you go. That's what I thought. Very cool.
Weed board was pretty exciting. We set up meetings.
That's it.
Well, we have 2 board members that are up at the end of the year, and they're not going to reapply, they said. So, we've always had a hard time getting board members. Airport board was excited. We had a lot going on. We had Bill Groff and Jody Patterson that reapplied for the airport board to be reapplied, and they voted them back on. We actually had one other applicant, which was really good, from Sorrel River Ranch, and they voted Bill and Jody back on. So hopefully we try to push him to another board, because we know we need more board members. They were talking about maybe some other ways of getting him on there. SkyWest is now online. You can purchase tickets for May 1st. Hopefully we get our runway up and going. 4 flights a day. You guys want me to list them all off, or you guys?
I'd like to hear them.
Okay. They'll be flying in from Denver to Canyons 8:25 to 9:40, and then they fly out from to Denver 10:10 to 11:25. And then they come back at 16:30 to 17:40. And then they fly back to Denver at 18:14 to 19:30. Yeah, I am not military, so you figure it out. And then some other news. Boutique Air has experienced multiple delays and cancellations, lack of staff, and airport staff has had to deal with customers related to the company. October, they had 116 delay notices, 27 cancellation notices, and November 15th, 15 delays notices in just November. Yeah. Well, it's put a lot of strain on all of our, like Redtail, and then because they're the only ones at the counter out there, and so they've had to pick up a lot of the slack. We're hoping that it's not going to cause problems when people try to book flights with Southwest or SkyWest. The other thing we have, what else do we have here? This is kind of interesting. SUA, Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, posted an article regarding our 135 operation out at the airport on their Facebook page. Several members posted comments about shooting down a commercial aircraft. Assisted with the FBI in the investigation, Judd has turned it over to the FBI and Homeland Security. So there'll probably be some people being not on the Homeland, the fly list, the no-fly list. So. The other thing we have with the airport is, so I'll let you know what comes up that. The other thing we have is the runway. We'll be closing down January for the reconstruction, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're trying to get a temporary runway, so hopefully we can get that figured out before then, because we're coming up on that. So
and that's talking about the small craft.
Yeah, they're using the small craft on the crosswind is what they're thinking.
What happens to
They'll be flying in on the dirt runways, or the smaller plane. Most of those planes can handle that. Yeah. Most of the planes out there can.
Did anybody talk about what was going on at the old airport?
No. Is there something going on over there?
So there's a camping. There's a no.
Camping.
There's a
Yeah, that's one thing they were talking about for the FedEx and UPS. There's a little private strip out there. So the other thing I have is I will be gone next meeting. Thanksgiving, I'll be gone. And then the MMAD board, I thought I could be on that, but that's the mosquito bait. I can't do that because it's on Mondays, and I have 2 meetings on Mondays, which it interferes with. So that'll be coming up, I guess, next time maybe. So, unless they changed it. SUA posted an article regarding the 135 operation, which was when we're bringing in jet service out of the airport, and then on their Facebook page, several members posted comments about shooting down the aircraft. So, anyways, we're taking it very serious.
Good. Yeah, but the sad part is in this day and age, you do have to take that crap serious.
Yes. So, other than that,
Andrew, do you have anything to report?
Give me more time. I'll think it's up. That's so much to move on.
Well,
I have
you
a
know,
quick-
it's not even 6:30 yet, so.
Yeah, let's drag this out. I have a quick future consideration. The question was asked today about, how much money we might get from the TRCC ordinance if we max out at the 4%. And I didn't have an answer. I don't have an answer. But I am working on understanding how I could revise our current ordinance, get it over to legal review, have you guys adopt it before the end of the year, so that it could go into effect April 1st, so that we can collect the max TRCC. That's the goal. That's my focus. I just don't know the answer yet. But I think right now, what we're collecting now is only about $600,000 a year total. So it's not like millions of dollars like TRT. It's not the same thing. It's the restaurant tax. And car rental, yeah.
We don't have a closed session tonight. All right.
I think it's almost a record.
Yeah.
You stay in your seat.
We'll make up for it next.
Big dire prediction.
No, I mean with 3 meetings.